Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me edit this for a second. It is Thursday, March 30th. Can y'all believe it? We are coming on the end of the second quarter. Let's do this. We're going live here. So, for the first time here, let me make sure my connection is good. It doesn't look like it. Sure we got a good connection so you guys make sure you can see me. It's not all messed up. Hello, if you're on Instagram for the first time here, we're trying to make sure that we are able to show up in all the places. Let's see what we got. Let's see, we might be in a bad place. I'm going to open this door. If you could give me a thumbs up if the connection is okay. I saw the video from Thursday and recognized my internet was probably connected to the connection upstairs. It was a little choppy. So I just want to make sure that we're here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Thursday, March 30th. This is the morning dew for certified doers. And I'm so grateful to have you all here because doers get more done. So this time for you guys, if you see me looking up and down, it's because I've got Instagram that we've added. We are officially, I think, in all of the places. We've added Instagram Live, we've added YouTube, and I think that's it. So YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whichever place you are, you can catch up with us. We're trying to make ourselves accessible. As always, if you have anything already, go ahead and drop it in the chat. If you have any questions, whether it's about local resources, about upcoming things, about policy, about community stuff, current events, drop them in the chat. I'll get the opportunity to get through those. We'll try to knock through those in a hot second. Now, I'm already going to put it out there because I know y'all pay close attention to me. So if you're seeing my face, this is allergies. This is. I'm swollen up. Yes, one eye is swollen. I didn't just wake up. I can't. So don't come get me. And because I know that you will come get me. I am swollen. Look at that. I am swollen. It's that season pop. You're fine. It's okay. Allergies are not doing great today. Good morning, Miss Charlene. Thank you, Marlena, for the thumbs up. James, ranked choice voting. Good morning, Marlena and Steve. Mr. Little around the corner. Good to see you here. I'm gonna plug it real quick, James. If you could drop the link in the chat. There are so many things to get into in this community, especially if you feel like you want better representation. Doesn't matter whether it's on the local, the state, or the federal level. There are always opportunities to engage with people that are just trying to elevate our society, make things better for us. James is here on Facebook. He is a part of what's called Hampton Roads Ranked Choice Voting. And you guys, if there's a particular place, James, you want people to connect with you, if you drop it in the chat, I can say it out loud and give the folks the information. Today, I really wanted to hone in on what's going to be happening over the next couple days. You all probably know, or at least I think I told you that we left session with what they call a skinny budget, right? So we only did really made four amendments or changes or things to the budget. And we left without it done. In normal years, Virginia, we're supposed to pretty much have our budget done by April, except for any late changes or recommendations by the governor. But for the second year in a row, and this is only year 2 for me, we've been split on party lines on what needs to get done as we sort of roll our way into reconvene. And for those of you guys who are not familiar with reconvene is when we go back to take a look at the actions that the governor has made on all of our legislation. So whether he changed it, whether he wants to veto, get rid of it, or whether he signed it or left it alone. So we're really just going to be dealing with two things: vetoes and changes. That day is coming up April 12th. Right? Wednesday, April 12th, that day comes. And we have a person that is called our appropriations chair. So all these committee that deals with all these different types of bills, our chair, the committees are usually stacked with the party that has the majority. So there are always going to be more Republicans on the committees than Democrats. That's just how it works, whoever is in the majority. The chair, which is actually a Hampton Roads delegate, Barry Knight in Virginia Beach, is one of the main negotiators of how our budget goes. And so we've got some disparity on what we think is going to happen. We technically, and I know this is going to sound funny, technically, we don't have to pass a budget this year. We don't have to do any changes because we don't have to do any of that because the state is approaching the middle of what is called a 2-year budget cycle. And I want you guys to remember that 2-year budget cycle. And all we're doing in this year, which is the odd year, the only thing we're doing in the odd year is we're making changes to our already budget that we adopted last year. The budget that we had last year was actually Ralph, the former governor's budget, right? So the former governor made his budget, and we adopted, and we had a lot of negotiations last year. You might know we were in special session. We went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until we got a budget, because we have to have a budget. But now, for you all to understand, is all we're doing is making changes to said budget that we already have, right? It's like we got a plan, we can make changes to it or not. But there are still several priorities that are left out there. They're very key that won't get funded in this. If we don't come to an agreement, there's still some stuff that is not going to get funded. And that's what I want to kind of go through right now, is some of those things that we know may or may not get funded because we haven't made the changes to the budget necessary. Now, I'd love for you guys to drop in the chat, if you can, what are some things that you hope to see in a budget? Because next year, we're going to be building it. Well, next year, the current governor is going to make his budget, and then we're going to have to adopt a new budget. So that's why we have what is called a long session in the even years. In the even years, it's a long session because we have to actually adopt a budget. In the short sessions, we're just amending the budget, so we got time. So drop in the chats if you're just joining us for the first time on Instagram. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday morning. This is called the Morning Dew for certified doers. We're just now getting ourselves to where we're on Instagram. So if you got questions, comments, or concerns, this is your opportunity to ask on any platform. Drop in the comments, what is the most important thing for you to see in an adopted budget? I mean, the amended budget, there's some cool stuff. We'll talk about it. There's also some not so great stuff, and we'll talk about it. Drop it in the chat or any other issues that you might have. So on top, right, one of the biggest things we're talking about for the second year in a row is tax relief. The governor and the Republicans have made these big, broad tax cuts as a priority. And so what we've been trying to do is negotiate the power to sort of lock this more targeted relief for certain groups of people, right? So for certain folks, we're trying to make sure folks get a relief. And based off the current plan, it's like these folks that really are in need will get like $50 back. Not cool. So there's been some clarity that how do I put this? We're always going to have different points of view of how we view things economically, because again, we are bipartisan. I think we need to be more, we have more folks in there, but it's because we've had these different ideas of what it means for us to be successful economically with schools and all those things. There's going to be a divide. So when I talk about this divide, it's perfectly normal. But again, the majority sort of has the more negotiating power at the table. So the governor made a proposal to cut the corporate tax rate from 6% to 5% for and that's kind of like almost like a non-starter, because on this side we feel like, hey, like corporations have been making really good money, but we do want some more relief for individual taxpayers, like raising the standard income deductions for folks, right? We're not in a great place on this. This is why we still don't have the amended budget. So we will see what happens there. There also was an idea floated around of like a one-time rebate one-time rebate for you all instead of a more structural cut, right? So instead of saying we want to do something with the standard deductions, there's a one-time rebate, which is, if you remember last year, you got that. The last part of the deal last year, some of you guys got $500 if you were per person, right? If you're a single, you probably got, got $250. If you're married, you got $500. So there's that one-time thing, but I don't think we're in a one-time situation. So the advocacy will always be for the tax code needs to change a bit to where we're not eliminating the middle class, because that is what's happening. And then also just not providing the relief that we know the people who are giving their monies to these corporations to be able to survive, and not only survive, but to thrive. That's it. The second piece in the budget, and I'll say this again, this is the first time we're doing this on Instagram. So if you've got questions, comments, or anything, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. Anything about community stuff. It doesn't have to be about the topic we're talking about today, because I'm going to get to that in about 6 minutes on Facebook and all the other places. You guys know the drill. We've been doing this for years, almost 2 years at this, or maybe are we hitting a year? Yeah, we're hitting almost 2 years of doing this every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6:30 a.m. So the second piece of the budget, right? Amendments. These are changes that we're like, hey, we know what our budget looked like. We want to make some changes, is the investments that we want to make in mental health. So after all of the state-run, you guys have heard about the state-run mental health hospitals, the places closing in yes, oh my God, 2 years ago. There was a plan that was laid out by the governor in sort of his investment packages, right? Him saying, these are my priorities, that I want to invest like over 200 million plus money in reforms in the behavioral health system. You might have heard about this, the Right Help Right Now. Okay, got it. So what's happening here is that there is supposed to be both budgets, right? So if I'm going to put it into plain terms, you've got the governor's budgets, you've got the House budget, and you've got the Senate budget. I don't think anybody disagrees that we need to make some increases in our investment in behavioral health and mental health. That's something I think folks at least on this side have been shouting from the top of the roofs, like, we got to do. So these budgets, both when we're looking at the budgets now, they would also increase the pay of the community services boards. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get to the office complaining about. They're called CSBs, or community services boards. These are these local-based bodies that primarily provide behavioral health and developmental disability service in Virginia. I get so many complaints, and they need some help. And I don't know, and I'm still learning here. So like, I'm still in the investigative process of like, is it they're not funded to be a solution, or is it that we got a people problem, or we got a human capital, we don't have the people to make it happen, or what it is. But the House on our side calls for an extra 37 million, and the Senate wants an extra 50 million. You see how I said there's three budgets: the governor's, the House, and the Senate. So the House wants to put 37, the Senate wants to do 50 million. That's something that if we don't come to an agreement on, just doesn't happen. We just stay with the standard budget. There's no increases or decreases. So this is why us getting closer to synergy is important. Another big thing that could be amended in a budget that won't happen if we don't come to an agreement. And I'm going to remind you, we do not have to adopt a budget. We're just making changes. So we could do nothing. Goodbye. Make it a great day. So teachers' wages. So Virginia, we are suffering from teacher shortages like everybody else across the country. And a lot of folks are saying it's low pay. And I say it's yes and, right? For sure. Like it's yes and. I get that there's low pay, but there's also some other things. But folks tend to think that everything, sometimes I think folks think it's economically driven. It is absolutely that, like, pay me my worth, but also take care of me and not make my environments more hostile. We are ranked as a state, or as a Commonwealth, we are 33rd among the state's averages for salary for K through 12 public teachers for funding, right? Salary rise, 33. We're ranked 33. And what we've seen is the House and the Senate, we are both proposing bigger raises for public schools than the existing budgets. That's a good thing. Because right now, under the current budget that we have, the raises are only 5%, while the amendments, if we make the amendments, that would push the raises up to 7%. Both of the chambers, so both the Senate and the House, are recommending that $50 million in the proposed budget in teacher performance bonuses be redirected to other goals. I'm just saying that. The House, which again is Republican controlled, specifically wants to put money towards bigger salary bumps, and other things like that. So like, it's on the radar. Is it going to happen? I can't tell you for sure. I can't tell you what's going to happen because, like I said, committee assignments matter, and I don't see any questions because I'm going to start trying to take questions or comments. So if you've got any, go ahead and drop them in there, and I will get to them. But I don't see any yet or comments. There's some major projects that we have. We want to hire more literacy specialists. That's in the budget. The House and Senate amendments would allocate $6.7 million to expand the state's literacy program. So that's on our end. And both the House and Senate are calling for hiring more reading specialists. The Senate obviously is Democratic led, so it is proposing much more, $27 million. The House is proposing about $14 million be invested into hiring more reading specialists. It is a problem. I'm just saying, I've been to talk to educators at higher learning institutions. Our little citizens' ability to read is an issue. So again, no budget, no moving forward. Again, I'm checking for questions. And if I need to slow down, tell me, because I will. All right, so let's keep it going. There's this security grant thing where both of the budgets in the House and the Senate calls for more spending on school security. The Senate, if they have their way, remember it's a cooperation. I have to keep saying that. The Senate wants about $50 million more in grants for the purpose. The House is suggesting about $12 million. That'd be diverted to the lottery fund. Don't talk to me about the lottery fund. I'm already like, we kind of getting jacked on that. And then $8 million to go to school resource officers. So rather than putting it in the grant specifically for the Senate, there's a mixture between the two. And then the officers, they want to give it $1.5 million specifically to renovations at 2 schools in Newport News, including Rich Neck, where the shooting happened earlier in the year. We know we haven't taken much action. Let me double check to make sure I don't have any questions over here. Still don't see no questions. Y'all just listening? Okay, I'll take it. But also, if you have community events going on this weekend, go ahead and drop them in the chat. If you have anything that you want to make sure that we share, that's how we do it here, Instagram. If you got stuff you want me to share with everyone else that you got going on in the community or just want us to know about, this is your opportunity to drop it. I'll do that in about 4 minutes. So there was a statewide housing needs assessment, which is interesting to me because we just had a JLARC report, and JLARC, Joint Legislative Audit and Review, I want to say commission or committee or something. So they will take this is a nonpartisan approach to an issue and sort of look at the state of it for the Commonwealth. JLARC report came out and said, hey, we are over 200,000 homes short in the Commonwealth. In this budget amendments that we have here, the statewide housing needs assessment, we both agree, like both chambers agree that like, this needs to happen, that we need more funding for statewide housing, that home prices are rising faster than we can get the money to dove out to get them. And in a lot of areas, like there's a shortage of affordable housing. I really hate saying, and I'm gonna say this out loud, I hate saying affordable housing because that number is different depending on where you live, right? And I think we need to start making sure that localities defined what is the formula that is better suited for this day and age to decide what affordable housing is. So both chambers backed legislation this session to direct the housing. There's a Department of Housing and Community Development. If you are in Norfolk, then you know that we just stood up our first Department of Housing and Community Development about 2 years ago. So we've got one locally, and then we've got one on the state level. And what we're asking for the one to do statewide is to review the state's housing stock. It needs every 5 years, they should be reviewing the housing stock. Now, the Senate on their side says, let's go ahead and put 400K in there. The House is like, let's put 500K in there. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to say this again, we don't need a budget. So none of this could happen, which is why it's good to have some consensus building between the two. Again, checking for questions, checking for events. I don't see any. So I see what we're here to do today. One bill that was brought up was jury duty pay. And that was actually carried by a local Hampton Roads delegate as well. That jury duty pay, lawmakers, we passed a proposal, but it's got to get funded. When we make, and I'll talk about that in a second, when we make legislation that requires us to increase funding for a specific place, that means that we have to actually fund it in the budget. Give me a second, I'm going to talk about that. So there was a bill that was passed by Delegate Williams Graves of Norfolk that said, and Senator Spool, that we raised jury duty pay from $30 to $50. That's wild that it's only $30 a day and has been since the 90s. That's wow. The initial consideration was about $100, but we had to negotiate, right? We had to negotiate. So that's where we landed on the $50. So again, I'm looking at doing a time check. Again, if you're new to this, we are first time on Instagram. So this is the point where if you got community activities, you have anything going on, any comments, we'll read them off. You guys already know on the other social platforms. So that's that. Or else I will continue. Okay. I don't see anything, seeing nothing. Part of what I want you all to understand is in this year of amending budgets, right? Even years adopt, odd years amend, right? Bring it on, make changes, right? We saw things we need to make changes. That's a real thing. So if I have a piece of legislation that requires money to shift around in the budget, then that, and we don't make the necessary changes in the budget to do that, then that law just becomes a nothing burger, right? It's just nothing. It's comparable to this. So something you guys may have heard me like talking about a lot the first year I was in was witness protection. So we in the Commonwealth of Virginia, this is an example of this not funding the legislation. We in the Commonwealth of Virginia have had a witness protection program since 1995 or 96 in the code, right? In the laws, we've said we've got this program. Yeah, we adopted it. However, we never funded it, right? So the budget never allocated money to the resources to actually stand up a witness protection program. So what does that mean? We have no witness protection program. We have it in words, but not in deeds. And that happens if we don't make the amendments for all of those pieces of legislation that we had this year that would have created space, that would have needed some funding, then it doesn't happen. This is a reminder to all of us, is that the budget trumps everything. The budget trumps everything. The budget trumps everything. The budget says that you can, we are paying for people to murder on Saturdays. The budget wins. And the law says no, the budget wins because the money matters always. All right. So here's hoping till we get to a yes. Last but not least, since I don't have any questions, comments on any of the platforms, I'll tell you guys tonight we have the Norfolk Tree Sponge Project at Jordan Newby Library. You can join us. We would love to have you there. Our Tree Sponge Project, Norfolk's getting hotter and wetter. We're going to do some things about it. Secondly, yeah, and if you want to come and just like chop it up, come and sign a petition. We're wrapping that up. Some sign the petition so that I can get on the ballot because this year is a re-election year. Secondly, next week we will be starting our redistricting webinars, in-person trainings where if you want to learn about redistricting, what it is, why it is, we're going to break it down. We're going to break down what it is, why it is, and then how it affects you, and then what district you're in. I know that a lot of folks are confused. Like, I have no idea what's going on with redistricting. This is your opportunity. Thirdly, like, there's a link in the comments here. If you're on the other platforms, not for Instagram, because this is our first time doing this morning with Instagram, is that go to the website, go to the link, and support the mission, right? My friend said it to me the other day. Shout out to Kezia Hendricks. She said to me, Jackie, no money, no mission, right? Like the work that we're trying to do, we're trying to fund this office. We're trying to do the things that we said that we're going to do. And it does come at a cost. So I would love it to have you guys, even if it's like $5, we take it, we do something with it. We need the support. So just show us your support and give what you can financially. Thank you to some of the folks I saw the other day. We had over $200 in donations and campaign contributions from you all. So gratitude, and that's a whole thing. And then what else? Trying to make sure nobody else have any community events or anything going on. All right, I want to shout out James Schull. What he did was he put early in the top of the program, we talked about ranked choice voting. There is a website for ranked choice voting Norfolk, or you can go to fairvote.org. So ranked choice voting as a Facebook group on Facebook. As a Facebook group, or let me think. Or you can go to fairvote.org. Sound good? Sound great? Okay. Okay, that's it. That's all. Y'all, this is 30 minutes. It's a hot take, right? This is Morning Dew for those of you guys joining us for the first time. Morning Dew for certified doers. We gets up, we gets it done, and we gets on our way. I see a comment over here. The Facebook, James said the Facebook team is still just for the local team. It's still for, you know what? And if you just want to get connected, it's just a great way. Even if you're not in Norfolk or you're somewhere else, but you want to learn more about ranked choice voting and want to even see how folks got it started, you can hit them up on their Facebook page or go to fairvote.org and get connected. Because we do need to, if we're going to change the people, we got to change the process. And it's about time for some electoral reform. We're talking about all this other stuff. Cool. Sound good? All right. I will check you guys on Tuesday. However, if there's anything in the interim, you know that you guys can hit us up on the website, delegatejackieglass.com. You can get to our email. I was not flagging that banner at the bottom the whole time. Boo to me. Let me do a boo. Boo, boo. I didn't have that showing at the bottom the whole time. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's a way to stay abreast of what we have going on. You can do that at delegatejackieglass.com. Follow us on all the socials. Jackie, the number 4, Norfolk.com. Call or email. That's scrolling across the screen on the other platforms. And if you want to support, I just told you how to do that. Cool. All right. Until next time, I'm Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and the laced up legislator for House of Delegates 89th District. Make it a great day.